ago, but now I shoot everything in RAW. Given the degree of flexibility and the fact that it comes in at a much higher bit rate, there's just no reason not to. The adjustability is so superior that, I mean, for me, when I'm counting on things looking good, it didn't take me long to figure out that's what I wanted to do. And I use the Camera Raw engine in Adobe CS2, and that works great. My partner uses Bibble, and there are many other softwares that do that. And if you have a Canon, they probably have some nice software too. But I like Photoshop. It does everything I need it to do. It does it fast, and it's great. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later. CDC also has television production, and they have a vast what is called the Public Health Network, and it's broadcast on cable all over, I guess, all over the world. And so they have constant public service announcements. Sometimes the director comes and talks and does a program, and she's very busy. She's on a lot of the TV show news programs and the like, and you may have seen her around. And anyway, this is in the TV studio, and their lighting is great for TV, but I find that for photography, I'm right on the edge once again, about a 800 or 1000 ISO, handheld at 60. Maybe I can get to 3.5 and sometimes 4, but I have to be real careful with it. And this looks great on TV, but for me, they have some hot spots in here, and so I have to fix that up in Photoshop. But all in all, it did work out pretty well.
When you use those higher ISOs, though, don't you end up with, even digitally, don't you end up with a grainy picture?
There's no way you can avert having noise. I mean, you're going to have some noise. The nice thing is that Nikon and Canon, especially Canon, are real good about making really nice images at higher ISOs. I don't hesitate to use 800, 1000, or 1200, and I'll use it higher if I absolutely have to, but I'd rather not. And it's grainy, but it still looks really nice. It's pretty amazing. You do get extra noise, but I mean, this looks.
You're using like the camera he has on his stick there.
Uh-huh.
That camera at a high ISO would be different than like a nice SLR, or would it be the same?
Well, yeah.
The sensor size is a lot smaller.
It's the size and it's the size of the sensor and the quality of the sensor. The size doesn't so much mean anything. It's how advanced the sensor is, because
This has a high quality sensor, but when you take it up to 1600 ISO, it turns into a work of art.
Right.
It's pure grain, but it looks very artistic. It's not bad noise. With a lot of cameras.
So that's what you guys mean when you say noise?
Yeah, grain, bad grain, digital grain.
Okay.
yeah.
An SLR wouldn't be as severe.
Right, there's much higher.
Yeah. Typically, an SLR will use a sensor that has undergone a lot of research and development, and it will typically produce, especially nowadays, a really nice picture. And the price point's going way down in those, and the sensor quality is going way up. The Nikons I like now and the Canons are the same way. They're into the second generation, and the second generation stuff is noticeably better. It really is nice, and it works. Adobe has it, and I use it sometimes. It does degrade the sharpness. I use it if I have to. And I don't use it. I don't have any proprietary software, although there is some out there. I find that things look good enough the way I'm going now, and I don't. But I think.
It does definitely soften it, though. You end up having to go back and
Yeah.
sharpen it again.
Yeah. It's a catch-22 kind of thing, and I try to get it right without having to do that. But certainly, it can be made that kind of software would be useful.
You probably don't blow the pictures up that much, do you?
Well, these can go up pretty high.
Not there, but like if you print them.
Well, I wouldn't want to go probably above 11 by 14, but 8 by 10s look really nice. Okay, we got this guy out of here, and we got this guy. I think I already showed you this one. These are basically blood samples from I can't remember the disease, but it wasn't good. And this was inside, but I'm over here and I'm not going to touch anything. So He's actually a very well-known researcher, and he's doing research to, I wish I could, it's so hard to, I wish I could remember these things, but it's so hard to make pictures and remember all this interesting stuff. I have to make sure I get the picture. So I can't remember what they were doing, but they're basically coming up with a remedy for something. So, yeah, very smart people. A lot of them could be working elsewhere and making a lot of money, and they work there. And I am so happy to work with folks like that. It really is. Like I say, it's a real blessing for me. Okay, now we're getting in. This is, we do press conferences, and once again, I have to shoot at, max out the ISO, 160 at about 3.5, sometimes 80 at 4 or something like that. And the lighting, this lighting was supposed to have been designed for a press room. A press room is where, the press goes, and so they typically have well-balanced light. Well, here they mixed some fluorescence with incandescence, and I don't have any, they didn't ask me, naturally, but so I have to balance things, and that's another reason I like camera raw. This actually balances out pretty well. If you can see on here, it's a real good balance. That does a nice job, but it does have a little bit of a tint to it. So anyway, and press conferences are pretty interesting. It's a lot of waiting around sometimes, and then you have to wait for these peak moments where something's happening that's visually interesting. And so it helps when something like this is being explained. This is avian flu, and it's during the crisis a few years ago. There were a whole series of press conferences, and I was going there every other day, it seemed like. And there were constant updates about the flu. And this is the same thing. This guy's shirt got a little bit hot. It basically passed, what I would like to have it, but I got it toned down a little bit. Huh?
So she's looking at him like he's got some sort of disease.
Yeah, I know. I'm really glad I wasn't giving that speech. So, okay, and again, this is in the Emergency Operations Center. Actually, it's just outside of it. And this is they did this extensive mock-up of what would happen if there was a big flu outbreak. And in here, they're trying to figure out what the virus is, because they had some kind of system. And they were talking to folks in Washington. And I'm glad they're doing this planning, because at some point in the future, there probably will be a really nasty flu outbreak like there was it the 20s? Yeah, I mean, they still have that virus, at the CDC, and they study it, because you never know what variant the virus is going to be. That's why they use all those eggs and incubate the different strains of it. So if there is one, they're going to have to scramble really fast to find out what exactly the strain is, and then develop the antibody. So, and this is pretty clever. This doctor, this is called an aerosol delivery system, and he just basically thought this up and went down to the machine shop and they fabricated it. And this is basically a medical advancement that they'll use for diagnostics and possibly for treatment. And he said, could you take a picture of it? So I said, yeah, sure. So this was at the lab. I could touch stuff in there. And it was basically, they have these work kind of benches that are all aluminum, I think it is. And so that's what that is. I used my own macro lens for that. It was kind of fun. Available light once again.
So you're pretty much a spur of the moment kind of guy. I mean, you go to work, you never know what.
No, I don't. I mean, I think, oh boy, it's kind of peaceful today. This is great. And then all of a sudden, oh no, the phone.
Actually, I was going to ask you, how do they schedule you? Is it all, if two people want you, then somebody decides that this is more important than the other?
Well, it got to the point where Jim and I were getting a little burned out, so our management did a restructuring of what could be asked of photo services. And so it actually now goes through a triage system where people put in a request, and then that way they can filter it and schedule it and get the maximum amount. We don't do retirements anymore unless it's a division director and things like that were driving us crazy.
Well, how many days ahead do you know what you're going to do?
Oh, I've got stuff booked all the way up till September, but somebody will probably call tomorrow and say, can you come over this afternoon? And so that's just the way it is. But all in all, it's pretty interesting, and I enjoy it. It's always fun. and they're really nice to work with. So I know ahead, yes, and then again, no.